Okay, should we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Move it? Yeah. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm going to call this school board meeting for Independent School District 544 to order. The first item of business is to establish our quorum.
Christy Hermes.
Present.
Natalie Knutson, not here. Stephen Bigasaw.
Here.
Matt Lemke.
Here.
Blaine Danielson here. Melanie Cole.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion about our agenda? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved. We'll go on to our acknowledgements, and we'd like to thank Service Food. They've made a donation toward the 6th grade class trip. We appreciate that. And also thank you to Jennifer Smedstead, Stacy Berta, Shannon Zender, Melissa Reese, Ryan Muckow, and Ariel Crone for their generous donations to the Otter Angel account. That's an account created to anonymously assist families that are unable to pay for student meals. And then moving on further, we'll have the board members report on their collateral committees and activities. We'll start with Matt Lemke.
Lakes Country Service Co-op, we meet actually this Thursday, so I have nothing to report for them for this board meeting. Minnesota High School League met on March 29th, which is also on a Thursday. They welcomed the new executive director, Eric Martins, to the board meeting. That was his first official board meeting that he was at. Some of the action items that they took place was they approved the 5-year agreement with Excel Energy Center to host volleyball, girls hockey, wrestling, and boys hockey state tournament events. So they got a 5-year agreement with them. Some discussion that they talked about is about with the state tournament venues continuing to rise in cost for hosting it. They're looking at possibly increasing state tournament ticket prices. They just noted that these haven't increased for about 7 years. So
Each year for 7 years?
no, they have not
Oh.
been an increase in ticket prices in 7 years.
Okay.
So 7 years ago was the last time that they increased the ticket prices. So that was just a discussion. There was no action taken on that. The only other thing that maybe we'll get to this, we'll just think spring here. They're talking about live scoring will be an option at the section golf meet. Hopefully we can start playing golf here soon. So, and their next board meeting will not be until Monday, June 4th. So I have a report.
All right. Any questions for Matt? Thank you. I'll start my report by looking at the business manager. Are there any negotiations, activities?
Actually, we are starting with the paraeducators next Tuesday.
Okay, very good, thank you. For the special education cooperative, we met today. We had a full board meeting and not meeting reviewed and the decisions of the executive committee for 3 months, but so a lot of personnel things got affirmed and reaffirmed today, and then we did the resolution to discontinue one position. We noted that Tim and Melanie Booth gave a nice donation to the special education cooperative, a Medline Hoyer lift, and a pacer and communication switches, which is something that they had that they thought the special education cooperative could use. So that was pretty much all the highlights from there. Mostly that was all personnel moves. For Region 1 Joint Powers, we had a meeting in the end of March and talked about who's going to provide synergy to the various school districts since ties going down like Sacatators, and so talked about that quite a bit. And that's just a kind of a competitive field, and Region 1 will likely be expanding on account of getting many additional school districts to provide services for. And then, along with that, there was some staffing changes up there, and that was about it. Finance Committee hasn't met lately, and the Activities Committee met just before this board meeting on a topic about adding a sport and considering a couple of junior varsity coaches, and we'll talk about that at our board retreat first, or not retreat, but I mean our work session tonight, and then be, depending on what the board decides, maybe bring it back for board action. So that was about it for my stuff. Any questions?
Just on special ed co-op, so is the anticipation then that special ed's gonna stay basically about the same for next year then, everything for services wise, or you don't get into that till more towards summertime?
Well,
Just-
services from the special ed co-op are based on need.
Yeah.
I mean, so right now, we have, I think it's 12 kindergarten kids coming in, but and I'm not sure how many we're graduating, but yeah, so the biggest issue is going to be special education speech pathologists.
Okay.
Three resigned today, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, either retiring, resigned. So there's 2.6 openings, so they're scrambling to find hires right now. And we might end up with a speech pathologist paraprofessional. It's a 2-year degree out of Alexandria, and might have to go because we won't be able to find. And what happens there is they can do the clinical, or they can do the practitioner type work with the student, but a speech pathologist will have to design the lesson and develop everything, but then they'll carry it out. So they're in recruitment mode right now. They said they did a couple very good interviews, though. They have good prospects.
Okay. Missy Hermes.
Okay, on staff development, we haven't met because all the money is gone for that. But there is a meeting scheduled for May 7th, so next month we'll be meeting. And then with curriculum review, that meeting was held on Monday, March 19th. And the reports that we heard were from the music department, world languages, physical education, and health. And music and world languages both have brand new curriculums that they're using, and so they reported on those. And world languages, that sounds fantastic, and different things that they're doing. And then also music, this is a little bit with this quaver. There were a few technical issues, but that they're getting that under control too. Really was very interesting to hear the physical education and the health reports. In terms of health, they have a curriculum that's it's not necessarily a book, but it's different pamphlets. The teachers have a pamphlet that they're using, and then students can go over the pamphlet with the teacher, and then they take that home and they can talk about it with their parent, and that's in the different grades. But one of the things, again, Mrs. Erickson has talked about this has been in the national news, is that in the high school, high school students are prioritizing mental health. I mean, they're thinking about it themselves, and so it's something for us to think about too. And then in terms of Phi-Ed, I just think we have some fantastic Phi-Ed teachers. They just talked about, it was just so interesting how they're going across the curriculum by, it's not just Phi-Ed, and it's not just learning the rules or strategies of games, but educating students about a healthy lifestyle, things that they can use for the rest of their life, and also how they're using other parts of the curriculum in the Phi-Ed, whether it's math or social studies. I just found it really fascinating, and I just kudos to them. And even spelling, using spelling words as an exercise, I just, in any way you can reinforce that, the activity as well as the regular curriculum, I just think it's fantastic. So it was interesting. You should all be on that committee with me.
I just think it's great that you find it interesting. So, that's cool. All right. Blaine Danielson.
Meet and confer, we have not met there, and that probably will only be, any more meetings there will probably just be as needed throughout the rest of the year. 544, we meet this coming Thursday, and then for buildings and grounds, not met there, and as far as any updates there, just kind of everything is still moving on with the boiler over at Adams and doing some prep work and getting ready for that. And the pool project is still a goal for this summer, and then just any general maintenance is still all ongoing, so that's what I have.
All right, any questions for Blaine? Stephen Biggison.
My one lone report. It's hard to report on this now because there's so many things that aren't happening, and there's a lot of planning and things that are being talked about with the legislature. But there are a few issues that are kind of bubbling up more than others. The one is the funding for retirement, teachers' retirement. They need to do something to keep it viable. Again, there's proposals out there, but it usually, it'll involve some sort of delay in cost of living increases. It'll be a contribution increase for employees and a bigger one for employers, which will affect us, of course. Percentage-wise, and in the years, I don't want to talk about it yet because it's not final, but they're going to have to make that viable, and that's the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest perk of being a teacher, other than being, doing the job you love, is just that you get rewarded for that afterwards. So with a very nice pension. They're going to have to do something. I'll have more when they get that more solid. I don't know how to say it. Once they get that finalized more. The other thing is the special ed cost subsidy is another issue where basically the schools are paying a cost that the state is supposed to be paying for special ed costs, and it shouldn't be happening because the state says they're going to be paying for it. So they have to fix that problem somehow. Again, it's something that they don't know how. They don't have a final way to fix that, but it's a big problem. And then school safety is also something that's bubbling up as well. They talked about giving schools funding. I think the number out there right now is $18 per pupil to bolster our schools and make them safer. But again, we're still kind of in the submitting bills for voting and that kind of thing. So it's more to come on that, unless you have more to add, Jerry, that I missed. Okay, so that's about all I got.
Okay. Any questions for Stephen? And then Superintendent Ness.
Yes, it is testing season, so there's the one good thing about bad weather. Not everyone's just running around worried about getting outside or not, but MCA testing, we take this very seriously. We train proctors, we do practice tests, and then the students go in and perform, so we're anxiously awaiting the results from those tests. The sixth grade trip, Service Food made a nice donation, and the Dell Trust will also be making a donation. I think it's May 9th is the day that Missy and I are going down on a bus. We're going to have about 125, 35, something like that, or more. No, it'd be more than that even, sixth graders. So we're going to have a good time going down to the tour of the Capitol, the Minnesota History Museum, Science Museum. So it'll be a good day. Spring sports, this is, I feel really, really sorry for especially the seniors who their only sport is baseball or one of the spring sports, and it doesn't look good for a while here. So I know we have a CLC, a Central Lakes Conference meeting on Wednesday, and I know the activities directors, they'll have to make major adjustments to the conference schedule. So whether they play one of the games counts for the conference, and or you play double headers. The big thing though is, especially in baseball, they are not adjusting the pitching counts because it's all about you're hurting your arm. So they are not, just because it's bad weather, and they're not going to make exceptions. So that is it's just too bad. Hopefully that it does come soon. And then we're also coming into awards season here soon. Dollars for Scholars. I think it's April 25th. We'll give away about $70,000 like they normally do. We will have our senior recognition coming up in early May. We'll have the 7th grade and 8th grade honors banquets, or breakfasts, I should say. So it's kind of eerie how fast this goes. Here we are at award season and spring season again, and we could be warmer though. That's probably the theme of everywhere. We just need to be warmer. So that's my report.
All right, any questions for the superintendent? Okay, very well, we'll move on to the general consent items. This includes minutes from our March 26th school board meeting, and then also the bills and treasures report, which, Lane, will you give us a report on that?
Yeah, I'll fill in for Natalie. Natalie and I met with Mark early before this meeting. He went over the bills and nothing out of the ordinary. We're sitting really well on cash right now, a little over 6 million. And bills are about 1.4 million we paid out, so recommend we pay the bills.
All right, very good. And then personnel maneuver, just one, huh?
Yes, Robert Henderson, special ed para, is resigning at the end of the school year. I think that will be the shortest report of the year, right?
Yeah.
So recommend approval of those items.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on any of these items? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that is approved, and our new business is a single item. And that is a resolution discontinuing and reducing educational positions and programs. Whereas the School Board of Independent School District Number 544 adopted a resolution on January 22nd, 2018, directing the administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions. And whereas said recommendations have been received and considered by the school board, be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 544 as follows, that the following programs and positions or portions thereof be discontinued. These are K-12 positions, .667 full-time equivalents, plus 1 full-time equivalent in class size reduction. And these are A, elementary class size reduction, B, a music position, C, IQ special education. Will someone offer this resolution or move for its adoption?
I'll offer the resolution, move its adoption.
All right, thank you, and a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Missy. And then, Jerry, you wanna just give a little, meat
Yes,
on the bones there?
when we start the budgeting process and ULA, unrequested leave and probationary teacher process to make sure our budgets, revenues matches expenses, there's always adjustments. We start out in January with a resolution, the second meeting in January, telling the administration to look for reductions in programs, efficiencies, those type of things. The next wave comes into this area where the first meeting, we do this, the first meeting in April. You just have to have the whole process completed by June 30th, but I think as a courtesy to all staff, if their position's no longer there, you need to give them time to find another position with another district. So in this case, the first meeting in April for us is to name positions. So right now, we're suggesting that elementary class size reduction, that is a scenario where it's a federal funding, it's a requirement that you actually reduce a section, you prove that your class sizes are getting larger, and then you can access the federal dollars that'll make it reduced again. So it's sort of a little bit of, well, I'll just leave it at that. And then B is a music position. This is a .167 position. We're really cutting this position, but it's going to be rolled into a new position. So rather than have a .167 here, when we're at it, we'll have a better luck finding a person at a full-time position versus two part-time positions. So that's why this one's being reduced. So we're really not cutting the music program at all. We're just rolling that into another position. And then IQ special education is a .5. That was a fairly recent hire, and that's a scenario where we will, what's been traditional in the past is you cut a little bit right now, but you hire back in the fall when the students return. So that's a .5. So that's where this is a rather short list for the veterans here. We've had a page full before. This is I can't tell you how nice it is to make this recommendation to approve this versus some of the other ones that we've done. It's good stuff.
Which music position was that again?
This is a middle school music position.
All right, any other discussion or questions on the resolution? Clerk, will you please take roll?
Missy Hermes,
Yes.
Matt Lemke?
Yes.
Stephen Biggessa?
Yes.
Melanie Cole?
Yes?
Blaine Danielson? Yes. Resolution passes.
Very good. Thanks. That concludes our meeting this evening. We'll have our next regular school board meeting on Monday, April 23rd, 5:15 here at the Otter Community Room. And the board will stick around for a work session on the Every Student Succeeds Act, and once again, talking about our long-term facility planning. And then with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.